At approximately 5:40 a.m. on March 4, 2022, deputies from the Paulding County Sheriff's Office in Georgia received reports of a man attempting to break into vehicles. Deputy Michael McMaster was dispatched to address the incident. Concurrently, Tyler Canaris, a young man on his way to work carrying a backpack, was walking along the roadside. When Deputy McMaster observed Canaris, he swiftly concluded that he was the suspect. Without providing any explanation, Deputy McMaster exited his patrol vehicle and immediately instructed Canaris to remove his backpack and place his hands behind his back. Canaris, bewildered as he had not committed any crime, attempted to assert his innocence verbally. However, Deputy McMaster, agitated by Canaris' verbal defense, quickly became enraged and forcefully slammed the young man to the ground, causing severe injuries.
Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Change your pockets. Turn the chain, put it in. Excuse me. Being detained. I'll take your backpack off. Take your backpack off. Excuse me. What am I doing? Take your backpack off. Can you explain what this is? Before you go on the ground, take your backpack off. I'm going to get picked up for work. Come on. You want to play this game? Sir. Put your hands behind your back. This is my phone. Put it down. Can you tell me what's going on? Just put your hands behind your back before you end up on the ground. You've been detained for a minute. Can you imagine the description? Someone trying to break into people's cars. I'm not breaking anyone's cars. Check on your fucking back. You dumb bastard. Oh my God. I'm just going to work. Help me. I'm just going to work. Get a bit. I'm just going to work. Ow. Ow. I don't know. Ow, please. Yeah. I'll get picked up from work, please. 9:20. Please help me. Shut the fuck up. Get up. I'm going to work. No. No. Shut the fuck up, dude. Get up. No.
Within less than a minute of encountering Tyler Canaris, Deputy McMaster committed a series of constitutional violations, illustrating a concerning disregard for Canaris's rights. The first infraction occurred when the deputy failed to immediately state the reason for the stop, violating Canaris's right to know the cause of the encounter. This failure to provide transparency set a troubling tone for the subsequent events. Canaris, exercising his First Amendment right to freedom of speech, sought an explanation for the stop, expressing his innocence against the baseless accusations leveled by the deputy. Rather than respecting this fundamental right, Deputy McMaster resorted to aggressive handling, infringing upon Canaris's right to defend himself verbally. Subsequent investigations revealed that Canaris was not the suspect, highlighting the unjust nature of the deputy's actions. The forceful slam to the ground, an act of excessive force, unfolded as a consequence of Canaris rightfully exercising his constitutional rights. This form of violent behavior not only violated Canaris's rights, but also constituted a breach of the 14th Amendment, which guarantees equal protection under the law. Deputy McMaster's disregard for Canaris's well-being extended to inappropriate conduct and a lack of empathy. Following the unwarranted slam, the deputy proceeded to search Canaris's bag without consent. This invasive act further encroached on Canaris's Fourth Amendment rights, which safeguard against unreasonable searches and seizures. The inappropriate joking and laughter engaged in by Deputy McMaster and Deputy Odkin at Canaris's distress raised serious questions about their professionalism and empathy. The callous response to the young man's severe pain demonstrated a lack of regard for the human aspect of law enforcement and further eroded the public's trust in their ability to carry out their duties with integrity. When the fire department arrived to administer medical care, they made a shocking discovery: blood on the ground where Canaris had been forcefully slammed.
I don't know what this is wrong. Please, no. Mail back, right? Yep. Please, I'm going to work. Where are you? I'm going to work. Are you on camera breaking in the car? No, I just got right out. No. I bet you are. He lives right up there. What did I do wrong? Hey, 348. Please, I just didn't work. Well, you're under arrest for obstruction, at least. How? I literally just recorded that.
You don't want to fucking listen. Put your hand behind your back. That's simple. Then I told you you're going to end up on the ground. You still didn't do that.
I wasn't
Then your ass ended up on the ground, didn't it?
I wasn't trying to.
You wasn't trying to.
I
How old
wasn't
are you?
trying to play.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
You're older than me. Act like a fucking man.
I'm just trying to get the word. I'm seriously not trying to do anything, please. It's just too big.
That's fine. I got to take that off.
I'm just trying to get the word. Please.
Do me a favor. Just relax for a second. When the cops say put your hands behind your back, you do it. And then we explain.
I don't know what I did wrong.
I was trying to explain to you, but you wanted to keep pulling away. So now you're under arrest for obstruction.
I
Yep.
didn't
Nope, I told you multiple times. All you had to do was listen. But no, you wanted to be a child, try to pull away. That's your fault. Nope, you're under arrest.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Car parts.
I got my other hip on my ear. Please, come on. I'm just trying to get my life back together.
The first name is Chris. It's not Chris.
Please call my dad, please.
How old are you? 29? I'm not calling your dad.
What?
I'm not calling your dad. You're 29. You're older than me. I ain't
No, come on, please. I'm just trying to get to work.
You go back to my car. You can check
I'm really just trying to get to work.
No, not yet. I'll call you.
Please, I'm just trying to get to work.
I'm just trying to confirm the first name is Chris and not Chris.
I don't think he ever made it into a car, did he? That we know of. Yeah, he was trying. So it is him. Yeah, criminal intent. That's like they said negative charge. Did you see him trying to get into a car? I was gonna address that later. All you do is take his backpack off and turn around and put his hand by his back. He wouldn't have played this game. P1 gets it off the screen. P1. Oh, okay. Right.
My wife likes to live in a car.
I don't think he actually got into a car. I dropped him on his head right there. I got boo-boos too, so I'm okay. But yeah, to the back of my car. Just make sure he's definitely it's a coincidence. Hey, come out real quick.
This physical evidence underscored the severity of the encounter and highlighted the tangible harm inflicted upon Canaris. The presence of blood not only raised concerns about the deputy's excessive use of force, but also indicated a failure in duty to ensure the well-being of the individual subjected to law enforcement actions. Deputy McMaster's actions towards Tyler Canaris extended beyond the initial confrontation, revealing further disregard for Canaris's constitutional rights. One significant violation occurred when Deputy McMaster searched Canaris's backpack and emptied its contents without obtaining consent. This intrusive act not only infringed upon Canaris's Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures, but also exemplified an abuse of power. Despite discovering nothing incriminating during the search, Deputy McMaster and his colleague expressed unwarranted excitement about the hand gloves found in Canaris's backpack. These gloves, essential to Canaris's job as a landscaper, had no connection to any criminal activity. This episode raises concerns about the deputy's ability to distinguish between legitimate items related to a person's occupation and those that may indicate criminal intent. Deputy McMaster's police report contained several absurd statements that cast doubt on his credibility and professionalism. His claim that the violent treatment of Canaris was due to the lack of sunlight suggests a questionable rationale for the use of force. Furthermore, attributing Canaris's innocence to a lack of sunlight raises questions about the deputy's judgment and ability to make sound decisions based on evidence. The statement that people like Canaris usually have targeted items without any factual basis underscores the subjective and potentially biased nature of Deputy McMaster's assumptions. Law enforcement officers are expected to rely on concrete evidence rather than personal biases when assessing situations and making decisions. Deputy McMaster's attempt to justify his actions by falsely claiming sustained injuries during the incident further erodes the trust placed in law enforcement. Such fabrications not only misrepresent the events, but also contribute to a culture of mistrust and skepticism surrounding police accounts. The deputy's narrative, depicting Canaris as disobedient for an extended period, contradicts the established timeline of events. The discrepancy between Deputy McMaster's account and the actual duration of the encounter raises concerns about the accuracy of law enforcement reports and the potential manipulation of facts to justify excessive use of force. In response to the unjust treatment, Canaris's legal team announced their intent to file a civil rights lawsuit against Paulding County in February 2023. This legal action underscores the severity of the constitutional violations committed by Deputy McMaster and calls for accountability on behalf of law enforcement agencies. Attorney Sean Williams emphasized that Canaris retained their firm just 1 week after the incident, highlighting the urgency and gravity of the situation. The minimal progress in the case due to the sheriff's office obstructing requests for information raises questions about transparency and accountability within the department. Attorney Taurus Butterfield argued that under Georgia law, citizens have the right to resist an unlawful arrest. This assertion challenges the obstruction charge brought against Canaris, suggesting that his actions were within his legal rights. The pending civil rights lawsuit and legal arguments underscore the importance of upholding citizens' rights and holding law enforcement accountable for unconstitutional actions. Deputy McMaster's actions, from the initial confrontation to the subsequent violations of Canaris's constitutional rights, reveal systemic issues within law enforcement that demand attention and reform. The impending civil rights lawsuit and legal challenges underscore the necessity for accountability, transparency, and adherence to constitutional principles within the Paulding County Sheriff's Office. This case serves as a stark reminder of the importance of upholding citizens' rights and fostering a justice system that values integrity and fairness. In this case, the legal team expressed concern about the delay in the Paulding County Sheriff's Office filing the alleged obstruction charge, taking 8 months before making a decision. The attorneys were perplexed as to why charges were not brought against Deputy McMaster after the investigation. Attorney Williams pledged to send a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate whether the Paulding Sheriff's Office and Solicitor's Office were involved in covering up the deputy's misconduct. As a result of the incident, Canaris spent 9 days in the hospital and disclosed that he could no longer perform tasks as he did before, unable to pull or lift things. A concerned citizen uploaded the video of the incident on YouTube in February 2023, leading to widespread public outcry. In response, Sheriff Gary Gullidge released a statement seemingly in support of Deputy McMaster, stating that Canaris repeatedly refused to comply with the deputy's commands, justifying the use of force to bring him to the ground and make an arrest. Despite the sheriff's initial support, Deputy McMaster was taken off patrol and placed on desk duty following an internal investigation. However, by March 2023, it was reported that the sheriff's office had terminated Deputy McMaster's appointment for policy violations. The department did not specify the nature of the violations, but clarified that they were not directly related to the body slamming incident. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation continues to investigate the incident, and as of the video recording, there is no new information regarding the lawsuit and GBI investigation. The case of Deputy McMaster and Tyler Canaris sheds light on critical issues within law enforcement. The incident illustrates the potential misuse of power by those entrusted with upholding the law. Deputy McMaster's hasty judgment and excessive use of force emphasize the need for proper training to avoid constitutional violations. Furthermore, the subsequent investigation and the delay in filing charges against McMaster raise concerns about accountability and transparency within the Paulding County Sheriff's Office. Tyler Canaris' ordeal highlights the importance of protecting citizens' rights, even in the face of authority. His assertion of innocence and the subsequent unjust treatment he endured serve as a stark reminder that individuals should not face aggression merely for exercising their constitutional rights. In concluding this narrative, it is imperative to advocate for a thorough examination of law enforcement practices. The events surrounding Tyler Canaris expose vulnerabilities in the system that demand attention and reform. A commitment to upholding constitutional rights, fair investigations, and accountability for misconduct is crucial for fostering trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. As we reflect on this case, we must strive for a justice system that values the principles it was designed to protect, ensuring that incidents like these are thoroughly addressed and prevented in the future. In May 2020, in Scottsdale, Arizona, Yenia Garcia was at a bar with friends when an unidentified individual unexpectedly leapt onto the hood of her car, causing damage to both the hood and the windshield. Simultaneously, a hit-and-run incident occurred nearby. Law enforcement, upon noticing the damage to her car, immediately suspected Garcia of committing the crime. Despite her being informed about the entire incident, the police remained adamant in their accusation, leaving her in utter shock about the allegations against her.
Car was just involved in a hit-and-run collision where a pedestrian was hit. And don't make faces like you don't know what I'm talking, but listen to me. Listen to me. Leaving the scene of an injury accident is a felony.
Fleeing the scene of an injury accident is considered a felony, and the severity of the penalties depends on the gravity of the accident. The defendant, if convicted, may be subject to incarceration penalties ranging from probation and/or 1 year of jail time to a potential prison sentence lasting from 3 to 12.5 years. It's important to note that these penalties apply to someone with no prior criminal history.
This isn't my first day. I know that you were driving and you were worried about it because you're drinking. If you continue, listen to me.
My cigarettes. You can ask the hi-fi security guard.
Then how did your car have damage on your windshield?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Listen to me. Because of the nature of the incident and the injuries, if you continue to say we don't know that you're driving and you don't know what happened to your car, we're going to do DNA tests and all sorts of other things to the car, and it's going to show that you were in the driver's seat.
This situation is not the first encounter with the law for individuals with a clean record. He proceeds to recount the events of that night, explaining what they were doing. However, the law enforcement officers remain unconvinced or unswayed by his narrative.
I'm not going to listen to you because you're lying to me. The problem is as you guys left, were involved in a collision, you panicked, you pulled over here.
No, we did not. No, we did not. Okay. You cannot pin that. You're not pinning that on us because that is not the truth.
You're not listening to me.
I'm listening to you.
You're not
saying that this vehicle was involved.
Listen, stop talking for a second. You're not listening to.
The police officer proceeds to clarify to him that the person involved in the hit and run was, in fact, a criminal attempting to evade justice.
I'm not going to listen to you because you're lying to me. The problem is as you guys left, were involved in a collision, you panicked, you pulled over here.
No, we did not. No, we did not. Okay. You cannot pin that. You're not pinning that on us because that is not the truth.
You're not listening to me.
I'm listening to you. You're saying that this vehicle was involved.
Listen, stop talking for a second. You're not listening to.
He then goes on ahead to retell the story of what they were doing that night, but the cops are still not convinced.
Transactions. I'm showing you transactions.
I don't need to see the transactions.
Why? Because it validates my truth?
No, there's evidence that you can't dispute.
That's not evidence about anything.
There's a person that hit the windshield.
Nobody hit the windshield.
Okay.
This car...
All right, I'm not going to argue with you, man. I already know she was driving. I'm not stupid. We have witnesses and we have cameras. I'm trying to help protect you guys now because now you're lying to us. She has glass on her clothing like an explosion, like small shards of glass. I'm giving you an out. I'm trying to tell you. Okay. So let me tell you this though. Before the person that was hit assaulted somebody and was running. I know she's concerned because she's been drinking. Normally, when it's a hit and run involving injury, it's a felony.
And I'm telling you, I need you guys collectively to believe me and understand. We are not lying to you. We were not driving this car on 6th Ave or 6th Street, wherever you guys
have the
say
keys for the car. This vehicle just hit a person.
This vehicle did not just hit a person.
It 100% hit a person.
You cannot put this vehicle there at this.
So when we test the DNA off the windshield, it's not going to come back to the guy that's in the hospital right now on life-threatening condition.
I could not tell you that because me or her were not driving this car. I have the keys. There's no other way to drive this car because I have the keys on it. We've been here since 9 o'clock. Full video.
Okay, go grab the video and then.
Full video from there, and if while you had a full video from Hi-Fi and Casamigos, you will see we've been here.
If we pull the video from Casamigos and Hi-Fi, it's going to show you guys leaving right before the accident happened.
Bullshit. It's not. You're making a scenario for that works out for you guys.
Your vehicle, the one you have keys to that nobody else could have driven, the seating position is only in a position that your girlfriend could have fit behind the driver's.
Because she drove here.
But the problem is,
listen, please listen to me.
I'm not going to listen to you because you're lying to me.
I'm not lying to you.
You guys drove
I have
here.
no reason, sir. I have no reason to lie to you.
Was the vehicle damaged when you guys parked it?
No.
You guys have a reason to lie
How
to you.
would the vehicle have gotten damaged if you are the one that has the keys for it and nobody else has the ability to drive it?
I'm telling you. What is your name?
Sergeant Steele.
Sergeant Steele. I am telling you.
Inspector
She
fucking
drove
Gadget,
here
I'm assuming.
perfectly fine. Parked here. When we parked here, she said, "There's always a parking spot on this street. Never fails." That's exactly what she did. When we arrived here, there were 2 units here already. When we arrived here, there were 2 units here. Nothing was wrong with this vehicle at all. We walked to Casa Amigos, met her brother and her sister-in-law there. Then we went to Hi-Fi. That is what we did tonight.
And then you came back and somehow
And
the
we
car
came
that
to
you have...
and we came to this. And that's why I came over to the officers that was over there on the bike, because I was thinking, okay, should I call 911? Then I saw the cops over there. I was like, oh.
The problem is you guys left, were involved in a collision, you panicked,
no, we did
you
not.
pulled over here.
No, we did not. No, we did not.
Okay.
You cannot pin that. You're not pinning that on us, because that is not the truth.
You're not listening to me.
I'm listening to you.
You're
You're
not,
saying that this vehicle was involved.
Listen,
in
stop
a hit and
talking
run.
for a second. You're not listening to me. The person that was hit by the car was technically at fault because they're running from committing a crime.
It seems like the officer aims to demonstrate that the victim is not entirely innocent, suggesting an intention to elicit a confession from him.
Okay. So if we can identify the owner and deal with that part of it, the seriousness of leaving the scene goes away a little bit because the person that was running was at fault. The person that's driving this car continues to lie to us. It makes us lean towards the felony part of it because they left a serious injury collision.
Okay.
So just before you listen, you're not hearing me because you're still coming back with this. Listen to me.
And I'm going to summarize what you just said to me.
Listen to me.
You're saying that it lessens the offense of this car being in an incident because the person that got hit is running from a crime.
They were at,
right.
That's
what you just said.
They were technically at fault.
He's on to him.
Okay.
This guy's sharp.
The driver committed a crime by leaving the scene.
Okay.
But it's common when somebody's scared.
Okay.
It's not.
I'm not, and please, Officer Still, understand. I'm not scared. I'm not trying to weasel my way out of anything. I'm not trying to weasel our way out of anything.
I just want you to understand the whole circle of what happened.
Okay.
Because when we identify
The guy is so confident and is unfazed by what they are telling him.
And she can listen to me, and she continues to lie, and then you are not truthful. Just listen to me. You are putting yourself in. I already know she was driving. I'm not stupid. We have witnesses and we have cameras. I'm trying to help protect you guys now because now you're lying to us, and she is lying to us.
So you're telling me you refuse to believe us. You're telling me I'm lying to you.
Yes.
And I'm telling you the complete truth. I'm telling you, how am I lying to you? Tell me how I'm lying to you.
This vehicle hit a pedestrian.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
And you wonder how you're lying to me.
No, it did not.
Okay. Well, you were forewarned.
What?
I explained to you.
Please, hold on. Tell me this. What time did a vehicle hit another pedestrian?
About 15 minutes before we found you. We started driving. Listen, stop interrupting me. Can you stop interrupting me? We started making right turns, which is common after somebody commits a crime. And as we made a right turn, we found the vehicle that was involved in it.
Okay. 15 minutes.
We made a right turn.
After somebody was
we found them.
We were literally walking over here.
I'm not going to argue with you about the same thing.
Returning to Garcia's situation, the officers simply shine a flashlight on her and assert that the reflective quality of her outfit indicates the presence of shards of glass. They suggest that these shards might have come from the shattered windshield when she collided with the hit-and-run victim. Despite Garcia's protests and tears, expressing her disbelief at the unfolding events due to her awareness of her innocence, she is handcuffed. It's worth noting that, at this point, the officers had already viewed CCTV footage showing the random man jumping on the hood of her car. However, this crucial information seems to be ignored, and Garcia is still placed into the squad car. It appears that the officers may have been reluctant to acknowledge any potential error in the case. In a surprising turn of events, the body cam footage from the officer assigned to review the CCTV cameras reveals a shocking revelation. The officer reports back that the video review was inconclusive in showing whether Garcia's vehicle had left and returned or remained in place the entire time. This assertion contradicts the actual video, where the camera visibly pans back and forth approximately every 30 seconds, clearly capturing Garcia's car consistently parked. Despite this evidence, Garcia is taken to the station based on the officer's claim that glass was on her clothes, an assertion later proven to be false. Garcia recounts that she was compelled to strip naked and change her clothes. Subsequently, she is brought and positioned in a chair surrounded by officers, indicating an imminent blood test.
Okay, can I see that?
When we're done, I don't have time to waste you reading documents. I've served you, that's all I need to do. And if you don't put your arm out, you're gonna be strapped down. We don't want that. Put your arm out so we don't have to tie you down like a...
The unfolding events cast a shadow on the integrity of the officer's handling of the case. In the ongoing ordeal, Garcia finds herself seated in the station, surrounded by officers who are preparing to conduct a blood test. The atmosphere is tense, and Garcia, still in shock and disbelief, is grappling with the surreal nature of the accusations against her. The officers, seemingly undeterred by the contradictory CCTV evidence, persist in their belief that Garcia is somehow involved in the hit and run. Despite her pleas of innocence and the absence of any substantive evidence linking her to the crime, the situation takes a distressing turn. As Garcia is made to undergo the blood test, she reflects on the unjust events that have unfolded since that fateful night at the bar. The intrusive and unwarranted strip search lingers as a violation of her rights, and a stark example of the questionable tactics employed by the officers. Meanwhile, the body cam footage continues to capture the interactions at the station. Garcia's emotional distress is palpable as she navigates through the degrading process, all the while maintaining her innocence. The discrepancies between the officers' claims and the actual evidence raises serious concerns about the investigative procedure as followed. The incident not only calls into question the actions of the specific officers involved, but also prompts a broader examination of the system's handling of such cases. As the blood test is administered, Garcia remains resilient in her assertion of innocence. The unfolding events underscore the importance of due process, fair treatment, and the need for a thorough review of law enforcement practices to prevent similar unjust situations in the future. It is illegal to conduct a blood test on a suspect without a warrant, a fundamental legal requirement that the officers in this case chose to overlook. Disregarding the need for proper documentation, the officers dismissively claim they don't have time for the suspect to read documents, insisting that she must undergo the test, even if it requires the use of force. Garcia, caught in the midst of this legal transgression, is informed by the officer that the test will be administered, with force if necessary. The blatant disregard for legal procedures and the threat of physical coercion underscore the questionable conduct of the officers involved. Subsequently, Garcia faces serious charges, including 2 counts of DUI and failure to stop at the scene of an accident causing injury or death. Days after her arrest, her mugshot is plastered across the news and the internet, causing irreparable damage to her reputation. Despite the charges being dropped after her defense attorney presents a time-stamped version of the video, the harm to Garcia's personal and professional life is already done. In response to the egregious mishandling of Garcia's case, she files a lawsuit in late May 2021 to restore her name and seek justice for the violations she endured. The city of Scottsdale ultimately agrees to pay Garcia $200,000 in acknowledgement of the wrongful arrest and its aftermath. Scottsdale police officials, acknowledging the mistakes made in this case, announced disciplinary actions following an internal investigation. Employees found to have violated policy or fallen short of department expectations receive varying degrees of discipline or counseling, with the most severe punishment being a 40-hour suspension for one employee and a 20-hour suspension for another, both of which are unpaid. Chief Jeff Walther admits to the department's errors, stating plainly that mistakes were made and the involved employees have been disciplined accordingly. The case of Garcia in Scottsdale serves as a stark reminder of the potential for abuse and misconduct within law enforcement. The officers involved not only disregarded legal protocols, such as the necessity of a warrant for a blood test, but also demonstrated a willingness to use force to compel compliance. Garcia's subsequent arrest and the public dissemination of her mugshot without proper evidence or conviction highlight the severe consequences of such police actions on an individual's reputation and life. Despite the charges being dropped, the damage was already inflicted, prompting Garcia to pursue legal recourse. The settlement reached between Garcia and the city of Scottsdale acknowledges the wrongful arrest and the subsequent fallout, with the monetary compensation serving as a form of redress. The internal disciplinary actions taken against the involved officers, while a step towards accountability, underscore the need for ongoing scrutiny and reform within law enforcement to prevent future injustices. Ultimately, Garcia's case underscores the importance of upholding legal standards, respecting individuals' rights, and holding law enforcement accountable for their actions. It prompts reflection on the broader issue of police conduct and the measures required to ensure justice and fairness in the execution of their duties. When a sergeant got a call from his deputies on a cold December night, little did he know that he would soon find himself in the interrogation room.
Today's date is Friday, December 24th, 2021, and the time is 7:03 p.m. The location of this interview is the command staff conference room at the New Smyrna Beach Police Department. Presently being interviewed is Sergeant Richard Kirkland. I am Lieutenant Mark Severance with the New Smyrna Beach Police Department. Are you aware this interview is being recorded?
I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the statement you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Richard Kirkland faced a challenging situation when two of his deputies reached out to him for assistance.
On December 14th, 2021, there was a CAD call asking for police to respond to 143 Canal Street in reference to a suspicious person. Are you familiar with that call?
I am.
Were you working as the Bravo shift supervisor that evening?
I was.
So you were filling in for another supervisor,
Yes,
correct?
I was on overtime. Correct. The suspicious person call came out, was dispatched to Galt about a male bothering customers and asking for money. I was contacted by Officer Beatty after the call for service, not during it, but yes.
Okay, so you had no knowledge of what was going on at the scene at the time when either Officer Galt was there or Officer Beatty was there?
Correct.
So, you said Officer Beatty calls you, you believe, at the end of his interaction?
Correct.
The individual under suspicion in their conversation is Jeff Gray, a U.S. Army veteran and retired truck driver whose worst fears were about to be realized.
The business.
See that for this?
Huh?
See that for this?
Why? They said you're asking the customers for money and stuff like that.
Well, God bless them on this one.
Okay, well, they don't want you up front of the business.
I don't want you up in front of the business.
Okay, well, that's not how this is
So
going
you
to
can
go.
go get in your car and leave.
No. They said you're asking for money and stuff like that.
That's what they said. It's hearsay.
Huh?
It's hearsay.
That's...
I say I'm not asking for money.
Okay, well, they said you're up front. So can you just go somewhere else?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not going somewhere. I'll put it in my heart to stand right here. I'm staying right here.
Okay, but they don't want you blocking the sidewalk and stuff.
I'm not blocking the sidewalk.
Okay, you have your ID on you?
I don't have any ID on me, guy.
Okay.
And if I did, I wouldn't give it to you anyway.
Alright, well, you need to just move along. That's all they want you to do.
Nope, not happening.
Why?
Because I'm just saying God bless someone's does.
Okay, yeah, and you have the right to do that.
Yeah.
They just don't want you in front of their business.
Earlier, Officer Brett Galt received a distressing call from a business manager.
What did they tell you?
The call note started out saying that there was a male dressed in all black, black shirt, black jacket, and originally he was asking for money from people inside there, and that's all I read because I was right around the corner from the scene.
So what crime were you intending to investigate there?
Well, at that point they said that he was at or in the business asking for money, and the business owner just wanted him to be moved along, and they didn't want anything to happen to him. But at that point he was in the business asking people for money, as far as I understand from that point.
Okay.
While recounting the incident, Officer Galt constantly struggled to get a hold of himself. The reason behind this behavior would surface much later upon further investigation.
Upon your arrival on scene, what did you observe?
A black male, or not, a white male dressed in all black, standing on the sidewalk.
Can you describe the interaction you had with him?
Normal questions I had, just what are you doing there? Is there a purpose you're up here? Stuff like that. He was just keeping to himself at that point.
Okay. What did he tell you he was doing?
That he was just, whatever the sign was like, God bless the homeless vets. He was just trying to make people aware that
Okay.
he just kept going on that topic. You're not asking for money?
I am not asking.
I don't. Okay, your sign doesn't say it, so I don't know. I mean, have you asked anybody for money?
I mean, I'll tell you, my name is Jeff. What's your name?
Officer Galt.
Officer what?
Galt.
Galt?
Yeah.
G-A-U-L-T?
G-A-O-T. And you haven't asked for money or anything like that?
I'm not going to answer your question.
Okay. Can I just see the back of your sign? Alright. You're making this more complicated than it has to be.
No, I'm not. I'm standing here on the sidewalk saying God bless them as veterans.
I know, but causing... Are you talking to any of these customers?
Yeah, I'm saying God bless them as veterans.
Okay, well, if they don't want you talking, then you just can't keep saying the same thing over and over again, causing this problem with them.
Alright, well, have a nice night, sir.
Okay, well, they just want you moved along, so can you go ahead and move along for me?
No, sir. I didn't know you guys had body cams.
Yes. Every agency has body cameras, so...
And that's recording it?
Jeff had some wisdom to share with Officer Galt, but the cop was already convinced of the other side of the story. Officer Galt had to gather a few facts at the location.
This location, did you know what was public property and what was business property? Roughly.
Yeah.
Why did you tell Mr. Gray that asking for money is technically against city ordinance?
At that point, I thought panhandling was a city ordinance violation.
Okay, so it was your belief that it was?
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that?
I thought that early on in the training that we had a call, and there was people asking for money, and I thought that we looked up a city ordinance violation that was panhandling, and it's not a city ordinance violation. It's a state statute actually. So,
What's the state statute refer to?
Like if you're blocking, like stepping out in traffic, blocking people's right to move.
So it's a 316 violation for some type of impediment of traffic.
Right.
If you're
traffic violation.
soliciting or entering traffic patterns, right? That wasn't the case here, was it?
No.
Okay. Did you speak with the reporting party inside the business?
I did.
So describe your conversation with him.
I tried to talk to him and be like, hey man, and I don't ever be in trouble or I just don't want my customers to be.
I got you. That makes sense.
Yeah, she's scared to leave. She didn't want to leave. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Good.
No.
I changed my mind about the ID. I will show you my ID.
Okay. All right.
Here's my ID.
All right. Yeah. Well, can you just move along for me? That's all they want you to do.
I'm not moving along.
It was like, oh, he was up talking to people at the table, asking them for money, and then when my waitress went out, he went on to say that he was harassing her, and he wouldn't go into detail of that, and the waitress didn't want to go into detail about that either.
Okay.
So at that point, I went back out and
you re-engaged Mr. Gray.
I did, yeah. At that point, I believed he might have been asking people for money due to him not answering my questions. So that's why I went back out to re-engage with him. I thought we had something maybe stirring up.
So at this point, you're still thinking panhandling is a city ordinance violation,
yes.
And you're acting on that assumption?
Unsure of how to proceed, Officer Galt made a hasty decision, a decision he would soon come to regret.
Who did you call on the phone when you went inside the business?
I called Officer.
And what did you tell him?
I told him what the business owner just told me, and that at this point I just need someone else to kind of hear the stories and work through it and see what we have.
When Officer Beatty arrived, did you go meet him?
I did, yes. I gave him a rundown of what was going on, and what the business owner told me, and what the male was actively doing at that point.
Okay, can you describe Officer Beatty's initial contact with Mr. Gray?
This is my ID.
You want to play that game?
I'm not showing you anything else. At this point, I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I'm invoking my right to have my attorney present during questions. I'm not answering questions. I'm not giving you ID.
So you're going to end up going to jail.
I told him my name is Jeff, and that's all I'm giving you.
Hey, no, if you want to give us your information, then that's fine. But we still have to
Am I being detained at this point?
Yes.
For what?
For the identification of you, which is an investigation that they started.
Okay, I'm not giving any identification. I'd like to remain silent.
The second cop who entered the scene, Officer Bay, had his own interpretation of what had occurred.
When you arrived at the scene, did Officer Galt meet with you and provide you information concerning the call before you spoke with the subject?
I believe I parked across the street.
Okay.
And as I walked across the street, we met halfway.
What did he tell you?
To my recollection, he just said that he wasn't cooperating, and I don't really think he said anything else besides that.
Okay. When you made contact with Mr. Gray, you confirmed that he was on a public sidewalk and told him the business said he was asking for money and that they had every right to have him move along. Is that correct?
I did.
Is asking for money in a public place, public sidewalk, is that a crime or a city ordinance violation?
To my knowledge now.
For someone who was so uncertain, Officer Bay showed a remarkable amount of confidence in deciding to take things into his own hands.
At this point, you're being detained. Okay. So, this is. Do anything in your pocket? So, poke, stab, or anything?
Since you're asking if I have anything in my pockets, I am armed, lawfully.
Okay.
So carry for me.
Okay. Where's it at?
Here's my hands. It's in my pocket.
Your front pocket?
Yeah. Here's my hands. Perfect. Matter of fact, why don't you guys just put me in cuffs? I don't want any.
Yeah. I don't want. Right now, I'm making sure you have no knives on you. And then when they write a statement saying that you were breaking the law, this.
At this point, to any layperson, it may look like handcuffing Jeff for failing to show his ID was standard protocol. But, as it turns out, Jeff knew the law better than the cops did.
He threatens him that he's going to go to jail if he doesn't give him his identification because he's there investigating a crime to which he claims the business started the complaint. The male, I think, could see that he was going to be put into handcuffs, so he alerts the officers that he is armed and that he lawfully armed, he has a concealed weapons permit, and he kind of puts his arms out in front of him.
Okay.
Officer Beatty, and he makes it an exaggerated movement. He says, "Here's my hands out here," and Officer Beatty goes to, take the gun out of his pocket. I think that the male, maybe he felt a little uncomfortable with the officers taking the gun out of his pocket with his hands just being there.
Right.
So he actually suggests, guys, maybe I should be put in handcuffs. So then you see Officer Galt, that's when he comes in and puts the guy in handcuffs while Beatty's retrieving the firearm, and then ultimately searches the male, locates, I believe, some magazines.
However, did Officer Beatty have a good reason to follow through with his actions?
I had the manager was standing right next to us, and he was saying that his waitresses were scared to come out and that they felt threatened and that he was on private property asking for money.
So up to this point, when you asked for ID, up to this point in your investigation, did you have any reasonable or articulable suspicion that Mr. Gray was committing, or was about to commit a crime or violation of city ordinance?
I did.
What crime were you thinking of?
That he was either trespassing or but that's just based off of what the manager. He was saying that his waitresses were being threatened. Or felt threatened.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall hearing anything about that from the person.
The interrogating officer promptly relayed Officer Bay's bluff, stating that his narrative was completely skewed. He asked, "Can you tell me why you decided to detain Mr. Gray?" Officer Bay responded, "Well, there was in front of a restaurant that was open and full, and I didn't want to make the scene because he was not aggressive, just argumentative and defiant. So, I wanted to take him across the street so that we could figure out what was going on without creating more of a..." The interrogator interjected, "As you moved to detain Mr. Gray, did he tell you that he was armed lawfully and had a concealed weapons permit?" Officer Bay hesitated and replied, "No, yes, and no. He said he was armed, but he didn't say anything about the concealed weapon until he got across the street." I have to correct you on that because if you watch the video, he does say, "I'm armed," pauses for a second, "lawfully, and I have a concealed weapon," okay? As you were taking the sign from them, that's a matter of record.
Can you tell me why you decided to detain Mr. Gray?
It was in front of a restaurant that was open and full, and I didn't want to make the scene because he was being not aggressive, just argumentative and defiant. So I wanted to take him across the street so that we can figure out what was going on without creating more of a scene.
As you moved to detain Mr. Gray, did he tell you that he was armed lawfully and had a concealed weapons permit?
No. Yes and no. He said he was armed. He said that he was armed, but he didn't say anything about the concealed weapons permit until we got across the street.
Well, I have to correct you on that, because if you watch the video, he does say, I'm armed, pauses for a second, lawfully, and I have a concealed weapons permit. Okay. As you were taking the sign from him. So that's a matter of record. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
That's just my recollection.
Okay.
Officer Bay desperately attempted to cover his mistake, but only succeeded in digging himself a deeper hole. The interrogator continued. Why did you seize the firearm before he was secured in handcuffs, or at all if he was only being detained pending further investigation? Officer Bay explained, well, at that point, because I thought he was committing a crime. Otherwise, I wouldn't put him in handcuffs. He's resisting without violence. I'm trying to conduct an investigation, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want to identify himself, so that's why I detained him. And if I'm detaining somebody, I'm not going to leave a weapon on him. But wouldn't it be more prudent to handcuff him first and then deal with the weapon on his shoe if he was compelled to do so?
Why did you seize the firearm before he was secured in handcuffs, or at all, if he was only being detained pending further investigation?
Well, at that point, because I thought he was committing a crime, otherwise I want to put him in handcuffs, that he's resisting without violence. I'm trying to conduct an investigation, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want to identify himself, so that's why I detained him. If I'm detaining somebody, I'm not going to leave a weapon on him.
Okay, but wouldn't it be more prudent to handcuff him first and then deal with the weapon issue if you felt compelled to do that? Well, he was being handcuffed.
Right.
That had not been done yet, and you were already diving in his pockets. So, okay. After you walked him across the street, did he advise you that you were violating his civil rights and to proceed cautiously?
Yes.
What was your response to that? Do you recall?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Once again, the truth turned out to be slightly different.
Okay, so I want to make sure that you understand that you're forcing a hand that doesn't need to be forced. Okay? We're not here to take your gun. You'll have it back. Right now, it's mine because we had to detain you. Okay? That's what you pretty much asked us to do. Okay? When you don't want to identify yourself, we were called. So it's totally different if we're driving by, and that's you over there, right? You're not requesting anything on your sign. You're not breaking any laws. Okay? When they complain to dispatch that you're asking for money, and that there are customers who are telling the staff that is against the law. So we're doing an investigation to see if that actually occurred. Okay? That's the only reason why you're being detained. But because it's an actual investigation of a complaint, you have to identify yourself. That's state statute. Okay. Just make sure you're aware of what's going to go down, because you won't.
In yet another blunder, Sergeant Kirkland found himself sitting in the interrogation room after two of his deputies reached out to him for help. The suspicious person in question was Jeff Gray, a U.S. Army veteran and retired truck driver. The situation unfolded when Officer Brett G. received a distressing call from a business manager. As Officer Galt recounted the incident, he struggled to maintain composure, and the reason behind his behavior would become clear later. Officer Bay, another cop on the scene, had his own interpretation of the events. Despite being uncertain, Officer Bay took matters into his own hands with surprising confidence. To an observer, it might seem standard protocol to handcuff Jeff for failing to show his ID. However, Jeff, who knew the law well, asserted his rights. The interrogating officer immediately called Officer Bay's bluff, stating that his narrative was entirely skewed. The officer questioned why Jeff was detained when he was on a public sidewalk holding a sign expressing support for homeless veterans, which was neither illegal nor suspicious. In another twist, the business manager, Axel, claimed that Jeff made his employee uncomfortable and insinuated that Jeff was panhandling. However, Jeff's harmless sign in support of homeless veterans contradicted Axel's narrative. As the officers unsecured Jeff, he willingly provided his concealed weapons permit, directing Officer Bay to his wallet. The officers released Jeff after verifying that he was not wanted, yet they failed to run the concealed weapons permit number for validation. The entire confrontation, it seemed, was a scheme orchestrated by Axel, an entitled manager who wanted Jeff away from his property. The officers failed to recognize Jeff's lawful right to carry a firearm and detained him without proper cause. Despite Jeff's compliance, the system failed him, as evidenced by the officers overlooking crucial details. While the officers found Jeff's gun and permit, they missed critical information captured on multiple cameras at the scene. Jeff, conducting his own sting operation, recorded the incident and posted it on social media. The review of the footage revealed that Jeff was well within his rights, and the officers' actions were unwarranted. The system's failure highlighted the need for improved training and awareness among law enforcement officers. Jeff's case served as a reminder of the importance of upholding citizens' rights and the consequences of overstepping boundaries. The incident prompted a reassessment of use of force policies and raised questions about the accountability of law enforcement in ensuring public safety without infringing on individuals' rights. In conclusion, the case of Jeff Gray underscored the importance of transparency, accountability, and adherence to the law in law enforcement practices. It sheds light on the need for continuous training to ensure officers are well informed about citizens' rights and exercise discretion appropriately. The incident catalyzed for re-evaluating procedures to prevent similar mistakes in the future and to restore public trust in law enforcement.